President Cogill.
Morning, Al.
Thank you for breakfast.
Hey, okay, I was gonna say, if anybody needs to text me, I'll come give you a donut after the meeting is done.
Really, a donut? What, a continental breakfast? Is that what we're doing here? I'm not accustomed to the continental breakfast. I thought Vital was going to have us over or something, but I guess not.
I know it's going to be curbside service or home delivery, Yano.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
I'll take either one of those.
right.
Let me just say.
Home delivery, of course.
Senator Champion, I'm happy to provide that. Representative Hornstein, of course, just text me.
Hey, I almost had a sign that says, "I will work for food." So I'm looking for it. But good morning, everyone.
It just shows the high expectations that.
And good morning, Superintendent. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, sir, Champion. Appreciate it. Good morning.
See,
How are you doing?
I'm doing nicely. I wanted to make sure you were on your toes and that you would know that you need to unmute before you said something. If you did not unmute, then I would say you got to go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, believe me, I've had those happen a couple of times.
Would know that you need to unmute before you said something. If you did not unmute, then I would say you got to go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, believe me, I've had those happen a couple of times.
You are on a roll this morning, Senator, and I love it.
This morning.
Energy, Senator Champion.
That's right.
Your energy.
Yeah.
Represent on so many great things, but for us to presence virtually, I am humbled by the opportunity.
My former neighbor.
Yeah.
I don't get to see you anymore.
Yeah.
As often.
Pam, why former? You want to tell us why former? Because you know that means something.
She's got the good.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Pam.
Good to see you.
Pam and I started seeing each other when our sons were running, and I happened to be in, I think it was St. Louis Park. I looked across and I saw her and she saw me and she was like, "What are you doing here?"
Good to see you. Yeah, it's unfortunate. They're still training, but not able to compete, of course, except virtually.
Well, my son, hey, believe it or not, indoor.
Yeah, because they have to run like 5 to 8 miles indoor around a track.
Indoor, so he has to do it. So that's a part of the programming process.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because he's a sprinter, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's spotted, but believe, well, I mean, you know this, Pam. They trained all last year, and then their season got canceled, so they were bummed about not even being able to compete.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, they still trained as though tomorrow they could start competing, but yeah, it's unfortunate. And Russell just texted me, he's out in San Diego, that 2 of his teammates have COVID already. They just got back on Monday before classes started. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
So Jalen's doing okay out in Colorado. They're hunkering down. He stays off campus, which is really just across the street. So that's kind of funny to me when they say off campus, but he's across the street. And he's rooming with other track folks. So it's like 5 of them in this place. So
same with my kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the worst time. I have Miles, who is my high school senior.
Where is he going to go to school?
To a medium-sized school, Division I. Miles like, no, I want to go to a big school. So he's at Mayans. Now, how interesting is that?
So my friend's daughter is interested in the same thing, and she's at the U.
Iowa State.
Well, so Miles got accepted already to Twin Cities, right? Ohio State University got accepted to already. He's a animal science thing in California because he was going to go to no. So,
but they have really good programs in California for animal science. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, so now that they put up the legislative breakfast agenda, that's our cue to be quiet, and I'll go on mute so you guys can go first.
Please don't. We're loving it.
Very good. Well, it is 8:05, and I do want to be respectful of folks' time and get to the crux of this meeting, which is, of course, hearing your comments and questions from all the representatives, senators, and council members and others that are here this morning. I'll just begin right now. My name is John O'Cogill. I'm the president of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. It's a pleasure to see you all virtually this morning. Thank you for jumping on this Zoom meeting. I certainly wish that I could be with you all in person. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, if you really need a donut, just text me. I will go get something from Bogart's and deliver it to you tomorrow.
What do you recommend?
And I would also mention that it is this meeting is a regular meeting of the Park and Recreation Board, or it's a committee of the whole, really. So as such, we're going to have to call this meeting to order, and then we'll get going. So I will call this legislative breakfast meeting to order and ask the secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Bourne. Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner Severson. Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Commissioner Hassan. Commissioner Forney.
Here.
Vice President Vita.
Present.
President Cogill.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Fantastic. I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Fantastic. And I will again ask the secretary to take the roll given this online forum.
Commissioner Bourne. Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner Severson. Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan. Commissioner French. Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes, 4 absent.
Fantastic. Thank you, Secretary Ringgold. Well, it's been quite a year this past year, but I'm really filled with hope right now after Wednesday's inauguration, the incredible and just amazing fireworks, and a sense that there's hope on the horizon for how we're addressing some of the biggest challenges that are facing our country, and frankly have been facing Minneapolis for a long time, and have resided even in our park system this last year. Variety of challenges that we've faced, and I've so appreciated the collaboration and work of every representative from all levels of government over the past year, and look forward to collaboration this year. And I just want to say thank you all for coming this morning. Again, I so wish that we could be together in person, but we have a lot of really great items to share with you this morning. A lot of great initiatives around our commitment to investment in youth, a lot of work on some great capital projects that have, of course, been championed by so many of our legislators. Turn it over to the superintendent to welcome everybody as well, and thank you all again so much for.
Thank you, President Cogill. I really appreciate that. And so I'd like to just, again, echo President Cogill's words, just to welcome to our, Minneapolis delegation and our state legislators, our Hennepin County commissioners. I'd like to say congratulations to those who were successfully reelected and those who are newly elected. So welcome. We so value our partnerships. Our partnership, we appreciate your ongoing support, and we look forward to working with all of you this session. The parks have served an especially significant role during the pandemic, and providing both physical and mental health benefits to all of our residents and constituents. 21 million user visits to our regional parks and an estimated 6 parks. I know that sometimes these are just numbers, but they're incredible to think about the value of our park system and how many people really use our parks for their well-being, their mental health, and just getting out exercising. We may well have had over 30% increase in our metro park use based on the pandemic. We also saw an increased use in our trails throughout the system. And as you probably all heard, our golf course usage was up by 30%, which was park and our low pit were busier than ever. And I drive by it all the time, and I've never seen so many people out at the low pit and enjoying that wonderful place and amenity for people to get out and just have fun and exercise. We worked really hard to provide safe, equitable access to our parks while maintaining the necessary health protocols around COVID. We leveraged our Park Ambassador program, which I know many of you saw our folks out there every day on our parks to assist with social distancing. As you know, too, we also closed some of our parkways, 22 miles, to allow for greater pedestrian access, and received continuous requests to extend those closures. We pivoted to adapt many of our programs to allow permissible, innovative sports programs and activities to get kids and adults out safely. And clearly, board, but myself and our staff's commitment to our youth. And we will continue to do that, of course. So for more than 100 years, we have been providing green spaces, safe places that meet the needs of our community. Investing in our parks is critical to our ability to serve those who use them and who need them. This was, of course, true prior to the pandemic, and it is particularly true during these incredibly trying times. So thank you for allowing me to give a quick brief opening. It's great to see you all, and thank you for your continued support and partnership. And we'll have a few brief presentations, and then, of course, we'll open up for Vice President Vita.
Thank you, Superintendent. I just wanted to quickly say, well, first, I'm Latricia Vita. I serve as the Vice President of Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and I also serve as the Chair of the Legislative Committee. And so I just wanted to briefly say good morning. Thank you all so very much for joining us at 8 a.m. and no commitment to breakfast. This shows that you're dedicated to this, to our park. So thank you so much again. I appreciate all of the support in Minneapolis from Minneapolis elected officials around the pandemic, around the unrest. We really appreciate the support. I look forward to working.
Vita, I'd like to quickly, if it's possible, just go make sure that we kind of go around the room. We usually do a kind of introductions of everybody, and you know we have a lot of folks on this call here this morning, and I think it would just be good if our elected folks call out that they're here, do a quick introduction before we jump into a short presentation on the legislative agenda. So I might just start with I'm just going to go with who I have here on the screen and start with our state legislatures. So I don't know if is Representative Gomez on? I want to give a quick.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for having us. It's good to see you all sort of. I definitely also wish you were in person. My name is Aisha Gomez. I represent District 62B in South Minneapolis, and appreciate that we're about to have this good conversation about how we can support y'all in the coming 2 years.
Thank you so much, Representative. And Representative Davney is the next person on my screen here.
All right, good morning, everyone. Jim Davney, State Representative, District 63A, South Minneapolis. I live right across the street from Brackett Park. Look forward to continuing to work with the Park Board for the interest of our parks and our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Champion.
Good morning. It is so good to be here with you this morning. As you know, I represent Senate District 59, which is comprised of North Minneapolis, the North Loop, downtown, Elliott Park, and a portion of Bryn Mawr as well. And I just want to hear what you all are thinking, as well as I have thoughts about this upcoming legislative session. So thanks again.
Thank you, Senator. What else do I have here? Representative Lee.
Good morning, everyone. Representative Lee from House District 59A. Really excited to see all of you here, and just to hear some of your legislative proposal for next year or this year, and see what we can do to help support the park board. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. I have Representative Hornstein.
Good morning, everybody. Frank Hornstein, State Representative from District 61A, which includes parts of downtown and uptown, southwest Minneapolis, a lot of parkland in the area I represent, and I live across from the Waveland Triangle, which is otherwise known as Waveland Park. And I thank you so much for hosting this. It's a great event. Always look forward to it.
Thank you so much, Representative. Thank you for being here and for all your leadership with park issues over the years. Representative Greenman.
Hi, good morning. And sorry, I'm having problems with my camera, so I can see you, but I'm hoping to figure that out. Really grateful to be here, newly elected from 63B, which is South Minneapolis and Eastern Richfield. I live about 3 blocks from McRae Park and have the Hiawatha Golf Course and the beautiful Hiawatha and Lake Nokomis in my Minneapolis sector. So grateful to be here, grew up in this neighborhood, and excited for the conversation.
Thank you, Representative, and welcome. Thanks for being here this morning. Next, I have on my screen here Representative Abaje. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Esther Agbaje. I'm newly elected representing 59B, which is the southern half of Senator Champion's district. I'm really excited to hear more about the park board and looking forward to ways we can support you guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Representative, and thanks for being here this morning. Representative Long.
Morning, everybody. Jamie Long, represent District 61B. A lot of great parks in my district, but I also have the distinct privilege of representing Superintendent Bank. Welcome, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you. Who else am I missing here? We have, I believe we have Senator Torres Ray.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here, but this is not the Nickelodeon, so, but I will pay attention. I will have coffee in front of me. It's good to see you all. I represent District 63 in the Minnesota Senate. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative Noor.
Good morning, everybody. Mahmoud Noor, represent District 60B, that is the neighborhood surrounding University of Minnesota. Unlike Senator Patricia Torres-Ray, I'm waiting for my breakfast to be delivered for this morning. So breakfast, good to see all of you. Looking forward to see what the proposals are, and hopefully we can collaborate good for our city and our state. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Let's see here. Oh, sorry. Senator Dibble. I think you're on here.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm hungry too. I wish Chair Cogill hadn't mentioned Bogart's Donuts, because now I'm really hungry for Bogart's. Thank you very much. Looking forward to the conversation. I'm Scott Dibble. I represent Minneapolis, the chain of lakes. I live a half a block from the lagoon that connects Medemacaska and Isles. I just wanted to say thank you very much to the park board for opening up the parkways over the course of the summer. That was very, very popular and very welcome, and all the efforts you've made to address the need for people to get outside. Even now into the winter, you can just see the parks are just packed. So look forward to the conversation and learning how we can support everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I'll move into, I think I've covered the representatives that are here. I'll move into city folks. Council Member Schrader.
Thanks, President Calgill. Everybody, my name is Jeremy Schrader. I'm a city council member representing Ward 11, which is South Central Minneapolis. Also love that we're saying what parks we're near. I'm 4 houses up from Solomon Park.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you. And Councilmember Cunningham.
Good morning, everyone. Philippe Cunningham. I'm the council member for the 4th Ward, which is in North Minneapolis, the northern part of North Minneapolis. I live by Falwell Park, so nice big park that we're very proud of. And I'm also excited to be working with the parks in the development of the Upper Harbor Terminal. So we're going to have a nice 19.5 acre new park. So really excited to be in partnership for that. Thanks, everybody. Good morning.
Thank you, council member. Is there anybody I missed? I know there are representatives from certain senator and council member offices, but is there anybody I missed? I apologize. There's a lot of folks on the list here. Please speak up. Well, hearing none, thank you all very much. And I will turn it over, I think, to Council Rice to just kick us off. And we can go from there in our presentation.
President Koga, I think the plan was to have Pamela do an overview.
Go ahead, Pamela.
Thank you, President Kogel. I'm Pamela Gokemeyer. I serve as the Intergovernmental Administrator for the Park Board. And I want to thank all of you for being here despite our inability to serve breakfast and be together this year. I want to start off with a special thanks to our delegation who helped to shepherd the bonding bill over the finish line in the 5th special session. The Metro Regional Parks received $5 million with a $3.3 million match from Met Council. And the Park Board will get $1.8 million of this to be distributed to Above the Falls Regional Park and Nokomis-Hiawatha Regional Park projects. The Park Board also received just over $5 million for phase 1 of North Commons for our 26th Avenue project, with a generous $1.7 million match from the Parks Foundation. And then legislation was also passed to allow us to begin serving alcohol at Boom Island, the Sculpture Garden, and the Commons Park. And I want to say a special thanks to Senators Champion and Diedzek for bringing these bills. Next slide, please. It has made youth investment and youth violence prevention a priority and identified a $2 million gap in funding for youth programming. Thoughtful, intentional youth development programming benefits the city of Minneapolis by providing more opportunities for youth to be engaged in activities that develop skills, reinforce positive behaviors, and expand the realm of possibilities for their future. Last year, Mayor Fry called a comprehensive plan to serve our youth. We had 3 strategizing meetings in early 2020, and unfortunately, the task force was suspended when everyone needed to pivot to respond to COVID, and we're hopeful that this will resume its meaningful work in the very near future. Next slide, please. It's a budget year at the legislature, so I want to touch on some of our spending areas. Local government aid represents the single largest source of revenue to the park system outside of our property taxes. We receive 11.79% of what the city of Minneapolis is allocated. And in 2020, we received $9.6 million, and in 21, we are to receive $9.2 million in state aid. A calculation error underestimating the tax base for 3 cities, including Minneapolis, resulted in a $391,000 reduction for us. And then since 2010, LGA has not reached the certified high of 10.6 million. Next slide, please. Legacy funding helps with a variety of tasks, including developing new and existing parks, replacing outdated infrastructure, restoring shoreline, creating critical trail connections, conserving and restoring natural resources, and conducting master planning. Updated MMB forecasts indicate a reduction of over 10% in legacy funds, and we can expect to see a reduction in Minneapolis parks of $1 million over the course of the biennium. In 2019, the legislature called on the DNR to convene a task force to revisit the 40-40-20 formula and make recommendations by June 15th of 2020. The Metro Parks representatives maintain the position that the Metro Parks system should receive 50% of legacy funds split rather than 40% they currently receive. The task force did not come to a consensus. Thus, the issue will be put to the legislature this session. And as you know, the Metro Parks and Trails host a significant number of non-resident visitors each year, and we need your help to maintain this critical resource. Next slide, please. So it takes approximately $114 million a year to operate and maintain the Metro regional parks and trails. Minnesota statute authorizes no less than 40% of the actual cost to be appropriated from state funding for O&M. Of this allocation to the system from the state's general fund and lottery proceeds, the park board receives on average $1.9 million per year. This is approximately 8% versus the 40% that we should be receiving. And while actual costs have risen, the appropriations have stayed flat over the years. Next slide, please. The Met Council coordinates funding to acquire land for the regional park system, protect and restore the natural resource land. Legislature failed to pass the LCCMR bill in 2020, and that bill contains $1.8 million for the Park Board's Mississippi River Aquatic Habitat Restoration and Mussel Reintroduction Project, and $1 million for Met Council Park acquisition. We are hopeful that this bill will pass early in this session. The House Environment Committee did pass it last week and referred it to Ways and Means, and the companion included in the 21 recommendations for us is $950,000 for the Above the Falls Regional Park acquisition restoration for 3¼ acres along the Mississippi River. And Met Council is seeking $2.25 million from the Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund in 21. We will work to get a 21 bill across the finish line as well. And next slide, please. So I wanted to touch on this policy item. It's new to our agenda from last year. The city of Minneapolis reduced the speed limit on certain residential streets to 20 miles an hour, and the park board would like to have authority to do the same. This would allow parkways in the city to be used at the same safe speed as city streets and prevent parkways from potentially becoming speedways relative to city streets. Okay, so I just want to conclude by saying that the COVID pandemic has driven a renewed understanding of the importance of the role that our parks and green spaces play in the physical and mental well-being. And we all know that the parks will continue to play an essential role in the recovery of our city. The robust usage of our parks and trails has also brought about wear and tear on our system. Partners is critical to maintaining our prized park assets. We look forward to working with all of you over this next session and year, even if it's virtual. And I want to thank Colleen O'Dell and Alyssa Gilmore in planning for their help with the event. And I will turn it over to Brian Rice now for a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela, and thank you to all the commissioners and legislators here. This is just a tremendous turnout. This will be my 39th year representing the park board at the Capitol. I also serve as their general counsel, and this is the 39th breakfast that we've had. And I really can't emphasize enough how important this relationship is. Without the legislature, there would be no Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. In 1883, well, there was a dispute at the local level. The legislature stepped in and created the pathway to create the park board. And in my humble opinion, thank God they did, because I think the Minneapolis park system is the heart and soul of this city. It's what truly distinguishes it. Former Superintendent Dave Fisher used to say, we're not a park in a city, we're a city in a park. And I think as several of the council member Schroeder mentioned about how everybody can look out their window and touch and feel this asset, and it's so precious to us. The legislature, we literally cannot run our parks without you members of the legislature. Clearly our most important partnership is with the city council and we've worked hard on that, particularly in the last decade, to line things up. But next to that, the state is the second largest funder of the system. Pamela mentioned we get about $9 million a year from LGA. That's hugely critical, but so much of our capital resources come from the legislature. We're really glad to see Representative Lee as chair of the House Bonding Committee. Senator Champion did a tremendous job for us last year on that, and we've had over $200 million come to the Park Board in capital investments through that process. So it's critical that that happen. We've had support on O&M, and that provides significant operational money. The Dibble-Hornstein law, the park dedication fee would not have happened. That's become a critical factor in funding our neighborhood parks. And perhaps most importantly, my quick topic today is legacy, to focus on that. The Minneapolis Park Board was the first public body in the state to support the legacy amendment when the board adopted a resolution in 1999 asking there be a constitutionally dedicated fund parks. It took us 10 years to get that to happen. It's been on the books now for 12 years. We get roughly $4 million a year for those state and regional park assets. And why this is so important, the legacy is a 25-year plan. We're halfway through it, but roughly that was a $100 million commitment, at least as the current legislative construct exists. That does so much for the system to allow us to plan, to look ahead, and get things done. And what I've learned in working for government for nearly 4 decades now is steady, reliable, committed funding is the most important thing government can do. Government can do many, many wonderful things, but we all need resources to do it, and we all need a steady commitment to know that what we plan today can be implemented next year, 3 years from now, 5 years, or 10 years from now. We have a tremendous planning department in the Park Board. I would say it's probably the premier planning department in the country for parks. Many of these assets that you see rolled out are there and come into reality because of that. But the legacy money brings in people we have people from the Minneapolis Parks Foundation on the phone today. We've raised $25 million or more from those partners for things like the Waterworks Phase 1, the 26th Avenue Overlook, any number of other critical projects. And the reason we can do that is because of the legislature and what you did with the legacy dollars. And so it's just absolutely critical. There likely will be a debate this year about the split of those funds. Currently, it's $50 million, 3/8 cent on the sales tax. Of that money, 14.25 goes to parks. That's roughly $50 million a year. 40% of it flows to the metro area, which is 20 million, and the Park Board gets roughly 20% of that, and a formula by statute. I could go through all the numbers on why the metro area generates nearly 70% of the sales and income tax. We have 56% of the population. The total user amount is 61 million visitors. The Minneapolis Park System has over 20 million user visits a year. But we also know Senator Torres Ray was involved initially when we got this done back in 2009. It's a tough fight with your state colleagues on the DNR in greater Minnesota, but we sure hope we're protected at a minimum of 40. Whether we can move the needle or not, given there wasn't really any substantive change in the political composition of the legislature, we don't know. Luckily, we do have Representative Hassan and Representative Jordan on the Legacy Committee with Representative Lilly in the House, but it's a critical part of what makes the park system operate. Trying to set up meetings with you, I sure am to people in the hall and having chance conversations, but I'll make sure you all get my number, and Frankie Johnson's working with us, Tom Workman, Pamela, our commissioners, and I really can't legislators on the call, and what really a great, we talk about legacy, the legacy here is having this tremendous partnership with the legislators, because the park system would not be what it is it would be a shadow itself without the tremendous help this park system has had for nearly 150 years from the Minnesota legislature. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Looks like we have some hands up, and I that's the purpose of this meeting. So folks, if you have questions, comments, please do raise your hand. It's now they've moved it in Zoom. It's at the bottom of your screen there in the reactions. We're all Taurus Ray.
Thank you. I would like to ask the park board. I have asked our fiscal analyst a document that will show the contributions in taxes that Minneapolis and St. Paul, but particularly Minneapolis, makes into the general fund, and how we actually fund a lot of public systems in rural Minnesota, taxpayers' money from our area. And this conversation around the formula is a very important one. And I would like to know if this question has been asked in terms of the proportion of the funding that we put into the legacy fund versus what we receive. Brian, 39 years, it's been a long time. I know you have been part of these conversations and remember how, it was Ellen Anderson really who was chairing the committee to divide the legacy funding. But I think that understanding proportions really matter for Minneapolis because we contribute a significant amount of resources. And I think there's a tendency with the Republicans to think that they are giving us the money, that it is something that they are doing for us and it's the other way around. Could you, Brian, do you know if there is a document that exists or that has been updated, or do we know kind of where the direction appropriate and convenient it is for us to kind of really deliver that message in the legislature and the public?
Senator Taurus Ray, yeah, thank you for those comments. We can get that information. There is this information by counties primarily, but they can also generate a city report. And I mean, you've all heard this before, and I know we're talking about unity, but Hennepin County is really the economic engine of the state, and Minneapolis has historically been the engine of Hennepin County. And I mean, the numbers, no one will dispute it. They just don't want to talk about it. It's nearly 70% of the income tax comes from the 7-county metro area, and like 66% of the sales tax. And internally within those numbers, Hennepin County stands out above all the other metro counties. So yes, we'll get you that information, Senator. And I know your research people on the tax committee side would have those statistics pretty readily available.
That we understand these proportions and begin to talk about it, because Minneapolis is in need of these resources today, the years in sharing the resources. I have proposed to the Policy Caucus that we are contemplating the possibility that will allow Minneapolis and St. Paul to keep resources for the reconstruction. That is a very important goal of the Policy Caucus, to really understand that we have been disproportionately impacted by and we need to keep some of these funding with our communities, our roads and housing. I want you to know that this is a very important conversation within the Policy Caucus in the House and the Senate, and that we are doing this analysis to try and work with partners to really.
Thank
we'll
you.
Work with you on it.
Thank you, Senator. And any other folks want to speak? Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Meyer, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak about something that wasn't included in this draft agenda, but I believe will be added to the full board agenda when it comes on February. Request to have the Stanek Law repealed or at least modified. We passed a resolution unanimously this last summer to call on the legislature to repeal the Stanek Law. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. That's the law that residency requirements for employees. And we really feel that should be repealed, at least when it comes to police officers, because 92% of the police officers in Minneapolis live outside of the city, and they often feel like an occupying force. And we think it could help if more of them lived in the city and were better connected to the community. So I hope that gets formally added to our February 3rd agenda, and hope legislators will support that.
Thank you for that and underlying that. And the park board, as folks know, has a small park police impact our park police. I see that we have Council Vice President Jenkins who's just jumped on. Council Vice President, would you like to say hello or say any words?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Just here to try to understand the park board's agenda moving forward, see how it can align with the city's legislative priorities. And I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see everybody on the call.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Representative Gomez.
Thank you. To Commissioner Meyer's point, I just wanted to bring to his attention that Representative Hassan carried this legislation when we passed our police reform package at the legislature this year, and on kind of where that bill is at this session. But just since she's not here, I figured I'd let you guys know that.
And may I say something to this point as well? I'd also like to call to Mr. Meyer's attention that last year when we debated the whole issue around police reform, that the residency issue was put forth and put on the table. So we've been arguing this for quite some time. So this is not new. So we're glad that you all are thinking about it, but we've thought about it and we've been pushing it forward. So thank you so much. And that could also be confirmed by Senator Patricia Torsray and the others who are on the phone, because we talked, that's on the call, because we talked agenda.
Thank you so much for supporting that.
Thank you, Senator. And any other or comments from folks in the room?
I would like to say that, so I hope that the information that has been requested, that we can find a way to present that information so all the delegation members will have it, so that we all are saying the same things because we have the same information. So no matter who comes, that we can make a united demand as to some of the things that we would like to see happen. I'd also like to call your attention to the fact that and I believe this is still true, and maybe Representative Lee can speak to this, but Leon Lilly is the chair on the House side, and I don't think he's always been quite in line with some of the things that we think should happen, because the last legacy bill was not as forward-thinking or as inclusive as I would have liked, but perhaps others liked it. But I think it would be important for us to have a solid discussion with him as well, so that we can be very clear as to what we expect to see in that legacy bill, or even a part of the legacy conversation, in order for us to reach some agreement that makes sense. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. I'm not seeing any other hands raised. I wonder, Senator Dibble.
Thank you, and I apologize for not putting on my video. I'm not quite presentable. I'm still in my exercise clothes here. I did want to mention to folks, if you don't know, I am serving on the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Commission, which, mostly, of course, by its mission and scope, directs a lot of those conservation resources outside of the metro, but some do come to the metro, and so I'd appreciate an opportunity to have a conversation with representatives of the park board, especially Brian Rice, about how we might think about Lessard Sam's and those dollars and how they should be flowing best to suit and support everyone in the entire state.
Senator, you just made my day. I fell off the chair when I heard that. it's a you're going to have an interesting path ahead.
No doubt.
Get your shotgun. Get your shotgun and rifle ready.
Yeah, I don't intend to carry on the legacy and the work of Senator Thomasonian representing our caucus.
Well, it's a great assignment. We have worked on that. And we have some good ideas on that from the metro area that have really been. But we'll talk. It's a great opportunity, and we've seen a lot of interest from bringing more nature-based, conservation-based projects to the metro area. St. Paul has a great one at Pig's Eye where they're reclaiming basically the very polluted land, and they're getting Lessard Sam's dollars for it. But we also have this huge park need. I mean, the constitutional dedication that we worked for was for parks and trails. And some people want to look at the parks, and we do use nature component, but the Lessard Sam's dollars could really help augment a number of projects that are nature-based projects in the metro area. So that's really great news. Congratulations.
Thanks. I look forward to talking.
Can I add a quick comment, President Cogill?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Director Arvidsson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Arvidsson. I'm the Director of Strategic Planning for the Park Board. And as part of my role, I coordinate the grant proposals that we put in to both LCCMR and Lessard Sam's. I'm thrilled to hear, Senator Dibble, that you're on this committee. We have just recently kind of completed projects funded by Lessard Sam's at Lake Nokomis. We took a couple of year hiatus in applying for that funding because we wanted to kind of clear the docket. And so I would expect this year we'll be submitting projects back to that committee for consideration. So we can certainly have a conversation with you about what might be the most competitive options for us as we get closer to that timeline. So thank you for your support of that.
Thank
Great.
you.
And I think the timing, or at least the preliminary calendar, laying out the process for this year was just published. So,
Representative Hornstein.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Rice for mentioning the initiative on setting speed limits on parkways. And I wanted to let you all know and everyone else on the call that this is critically important, and we are going to be doing a fairly extensive conversation in the Transportation Committee in the House on pedestrian safety and bike safety. And I know this has been something the Park Board has been interested in for a while, but there is going to be a pretty major initiative from MnDOT on pedestrian safety, and it's become really an increasingly urgent issue, statewide, but particularly in the metro area. So we're definitely going to hear that bill and include it in our transportation conversation at the Capitol this year.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you for all your leadership on transit and transportation issues. We're really thrilled that this particular issue is something that I'm very passionate about myself, and I think will benefit everybody in the city. So thank you for taking it up. Go ahead.
Koga, just a quick thing on that. I mean, it might seem for our new legislators, if Minneapolis comes forward with a special bill, your colleagues will say, oh, here comes Minneapolis asking for something special. In a nutshell, here's the problem we have with the Park Board. We have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, but the general state law says we could reduce it. But in order to reduce it, we first have to do a study of what the average existing speed is now. So we say it's 25, but it's really over 30. We do a study, and then the state law would say, well, you can only reduce the speed by 20%. So if the speed is 33 miles an hour, the Park Board could reduce the speed to 25. And the fact of the matter is, the roads are just unsafe. Ken Sulam's brother just died last week. He lived northeast, crossing Lowry. Lowry's a busy street, but yeah, good for Commissioner Cogill, and thank you, Representative Hornstein and Senator Dibble, for doing it. And I thought about how we could draft it to change a statewide law, but it got so complicated that the easiest way to deal with our issue without affecting, 700 other cities or counties would be to just do a one-off for Minneapolis. But that's what we need.
Thank you. Representative Greenman.
Thank you. I have a question about, and as you know, the Hiawatha Golf Course is really important to folks in my community, and and I know that there's been a lot of people who have been engaged. I'm wondering the status of that process and the planning process, I guess, is my first question.
Thank you for the question, Representative. I would say that just at first here, we are done with the public comment period regarding a plan for a master plan for the golf course, and that would be coming forward here in the coming months for board consideration. And I'd ask if either Commissioner Musich or Assistant Superintendent Schroeder would like to provide any more detail.
President Kogel, I can. In fact, you're correct. We've been organizing to bring the master plan forward to the planning committee of the board, and we're looking at February 17th for a public hearing. That'll be published coming up, and then if it's reviewed favorably at the committee level, it'll be brought to the board during the first meeting of March.
Yeah. Sorry.
And to be clear, at this point, what we're looking at would be essentially, in terms of golf, would be essentially an executive 9. I believe that's what we're.
And I'd be happy to talk with anyone who has additional questions about the process up to this point, if you're not familiar with it, or if you have questions around what goals the master plan achieves. I'm happy to talk about that as well. Obviously, I get a lot of questions about this topic, and I'm probably the most well-versed commissioner on the board to field those questions. So happy to talk with anyone about that.
And can I ask just a clarifying question to the chair? Did you say that you think the recommendation thus far is for it to become an executive 9? Is that what I think I heard?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you, yeah.
Okay. And how does that conclusion align with some of the golfers of color that has some concern about the process and what you all were looking at doing with the park itself, with that golf course?
So a great question. I think that it's a large issue, and I would say that we heard from many community members over a number of years. I would say that there is a large constituency of golfers of color who very much want to keep the 18-hole structure, and that is certainly something that will be debated and considered at the board level when this comes forward. I don't think that it's not voted on yet. I think that commissioners have some clear questions about that. But looking at both the issues of flooding and ongoing projections regarding flooding, and also what we've heard broadly in the community, planning staff, I think, have done a very good job of listening to all voices and considering the environmental impacts in coming forward with a plan that honors the history of the course, but acknowledges the realities of the environmental future of that space and really the past of the swamp. But it's certainly an ongoing question and something that I think Commissioner Musich and all commissioners would be happy to talk more with representatives and senators on.
Can I just
please
add my voice?
make sure that we receive that information. As you can imagine, we have a very divided community in our district right now related to that. You know that, and it would be very important for Representative Greenman and I to just really make sure that we have the information necessary. So everything that you can share with us in terms of the numbers, the dates, how you plan to proceed, is just incredibly important to us. We need to be able to respond to our constituents. So please don't forget that.
And if I can say,
Yes.
echoing that I'd like to have all the information. This was something that former Senator Jeff Hayden and I were hearing a lot about, that we tried to be as best as humanly possible a bridge between the park board and those African American golfers who feel neglected and feel unheard, and you can fill in the blanks. And so I just want to make sure that we have all the information, and as well as additional opportunities that they will have to even speak to commissioners and others who are going to look at this master plan and make a decision. I hope that as you are providing information in real time to the folks who represent the area, I hope that you also provide that information to those of us who don't represent the area, but who are deeply engaged, because folks who live in the area trusted us enough to reach out to us and expect us to have information as well.
Understood, Senator. Thank you. And we recognize, yes, this is a major linchpin issue, and not just for folks that live around the golf course, but for the entire city.
Commissioner Cogill, may I say something briefly?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Cogill. I think it's important to note that the direction the board has given to staff on the master plan was that we really wanted to be able to preserve golf on this site for the long term. And so that meant looking at how do we make a golf course resilient to climate change. So I think if we as a city are acknowledging that climate change is real, that the projections that we're going to have a lot more rainfall, more intense storm events in coming years, we need a way for this site to be able to drain naturally. And by maintaining an 18-hole course where a large portion of it is below the surface water level of the adjacent lake, we're unable to do that because the only way to get it dry after a flood event is to pump it dry. We've had berm overtopping at least 3 times since the serious flooding in 2014. We've just been very lucky it hasn't completely flooded. When it does flood, we can't have anyone play golf for many, many months. And from what I've heard from golfers is that they wanna be able to play golf whenever the weather allows them to do so. So what we're trying to achieve here is acknowledging the realities of what's happening in terms of water in our city, and find a way to keep golf playable as many days as possible in the season. So yeah, if folks have questions about that, again, I'm happy to help with that, understanding that. Thanks.
And Mr. Chair, I don't mean to be out of line, but if I could just say one thing, is that I think that what it feels like is happening, and once we get the information, I will be able to confirm or modify my thoughts right now, is that what I think is happening is that there seems to be an underappreciation for the fact that the Hiawatha Golf Course is a major cultural asset of the African American community. And even though these other realities are also equally as important, it appears as if there's an elevation of those other technical things and a diminishing of the other cultural aspects of this. And I think that is getting lost. And I'm not certain, but I will certainly talk to a cross section of people to see what they think about the 9 holes. And I also think it would be important, because some of the things that I'm hearing is that the golfers, especially those African American golfers, that's what I'm speaking to and about, feel like the park talks down to them and elevates these other issues and never validates their concerns and the historical connection and emotional connection to the space as well. It's like going on someone's sacred land, for lack of a better word, and just saying, oh, because of this is what we're going to do, and not appreciating the fact that you're on sacred land and that you should do something in real time to move the conversation forward, but in a respectful way, so that there's buy-in. And right now I'm getting messages that would seem to suggest that there's not buy-in or that level of sensitivity that I wish that the park would convey. So And I'll be quiet and thank you for your patience. And I don't mean to overstep my thoughts.
No, I appreciate the words, Senator, and thank you for articulating those. We have a few other hands raised here. I would like to make sure that we get to some folks. Ask for Representative Noor, followed by Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. I think Senator Bobby Joe Champion had already spoken to some of the issues that I wanted to present. My other issue that I wanted to present is I haven't received a good response from the Park and Rec in terms of the Brian Coyle Community Center. That has been a major issue that I've been trying to do my best, even to the extent that Senator Dietzek and I were given a green light by MMB to look into the equity funds, and we never got a single update from the PAC. So I think I'm disappointed at that point in terms of how that community has been treated in terms of putting a good project forward. I understand there's so many things happening, but if we don't have an update, if we don't have partners on the other side, we will go nowhere. So I think that's going to be something that I wanted to focus on and get something done for the community around the Brian Coyle Community Center. So I look forward to hearing more on that issue.
Thank you, Representative. Assistant Superintendent Schroeder, do you have anything you'd like to say on that item, or the superintendent?
President Kogel, I could reach out to Representative Noor. I've talked to him a couple of times on the phone, but admittedly not recently. We do have a pre-designed document that's posted on the internet that identifies a lot of programming opportunities, that identifies shortfalls in the current service levels around Brian Coyle, and proposes a number of different alternatives for how we can begin to address those through a new facility. We're in the process now of trying to make certain that we can define a clear path forward that's under Park Board control. That'll take us another couple months, and at that point, we'll be bringing the pre-designed document to the board for review. So I can reach out to Representative Noor or others to make certain that they're understanding where we are in our process.
Thank you. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent, and thank you, Representative Noor, and we'll certainly be reaching out soon. Council Vice President.
Thank you, Chair Cogill, and I just want to appreciate and thank Senator Champion for his comments around the Hiawatha Golf Course, as it does border my district and many of those African-American golfers that Senator Champion spoke about live in my ward. And so I'm very, very interested in this issue as well. So I would like to get those updates because I'm getting lots of concerns and comments. But additionally, I'm not sure if I understand, not being a golfer myself, what an Executive 9 is. Can you just explain that at this point?
Well, I'm not much of a golfer either. I guess at the basic level, it's a 9-hole course, but maybe somebody who's a more avid golfer than me could explain the intricacies of that.
President Kogel, I could summarize it. It's the course is not a par 3, which would be a diminishment of the golf opportunities even beyond a reduction to 9 holes. So this would be a par 36, which is half of a regulation course in golf. So it would include the typical number of par 3s, par 4s, and par 5s in the experience of the 9 holes.
Okay, I'm even less clear now. However, if I can get that documentation, I would really appreciate that. There are a number of other issues that relate to the Park Board as well that I have concerns about, namely Phelps Park, which I'm looking at right now across the window, and as all of you know, it's very, very close to the George Floyd square, as it is commonly being referred to now. And, you know, we've been working, myself and Commissioner Musican and others, on creating a mural at that park, but there has been some conversations around the potential of renaming the park or creating some kind of park in this area to lift up the realities of, you know, unarmed Black Americans dying at the hands of the police. And so I just want to throw that into the conversation for future consideration. Those might be some of the ideas that are coming forward soon.
Thank you, Council Vice President, and I really appreciate you calling that out, and happy to continue those conversations. I did want to note that we have the Hennepin County Chair Marion Green on the call. I think she just jumped on.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning. If you'd like to say, would you like to say anything else, or you have any questions at this time?
No, just apologies that I couldn't make it for the first hour, but I wanted to catch what I could, and I'm going to look forward to reviewing the materials, of course, in print. And thanks for a difficult year, but a year of partnership, and looking forward to another.
Thank you so much. Representative Greenman.
And I apologize because I actually just wanted to follow up on something that Senator Champion said. But my predecessor, Representative Obenius, was really involved in both the conversation and the process. And so my follow-up question is just what additional, I have been hearing about it a lot, both on the, both from golfers and from folks who, that was eloquently expressed by Senator Champion, and also from folks who are worried about the water issues and really taking seriously the climate change issues. And so I guess for me, the question is what's the additional process to engage folks? I know there's been some process, there's been some questions about it, but what's the follow-up once as the plan is being built and heard, I guess, on February 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Yeah, we can provide some additional context, including just the entire arc of the engagement around the golf course, as well as kind of the timeline for public comment on what is being considered at the board level and how this would move through consideration at committee and full board levels. So certainly we'll follow up with that information. Any other questions or comments from?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Does that information also include what will be the projected losses by going to, if you were to go to an Executive 9? And Executive 9, from my understanding, I only play a golfer on TV, but it's my understanding you got the 18 holes, and then you have the par 3, which is the 9 holes. Below the par 3 is where you will find that Executive 9, which is almost like putt-putt golf or something of that nature. I could be wrong. To all the other golfers, I know Brian Rice is a golfer. My apologies if I miss speaking in any shape, form, or fashion. But I know that it's my understanding that the golf course yielded us roughly $1 million in profitability or more this year. If you no longer have that as a nugget or possibility at Hiawatha, will the information include what the park board is looking to do to supplement or to replace those losses, and how that might impact your youth programs and some of the other programs that we all believe to be very important as well, along with the water issues? So my question.
Certainly. Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I know that Commissioner Severson this past year has been asking many questions regarding golf revenues and projections, et cetera. We do have that information at a broader scale and specifically to each each course. So we can provide some context around that, Senator, and of course also any design items so you can review kind of what the current proposal might look like. Representative Davany. Looks like you're muted. There you go.
Okay, I thought I'd gotten it that time. Thank you, Mr. President. Add me to the list of people interested in Lake Hiawatha and the Hiawatha golf course and the like. That borders my district, so I actually represent the residential area immediately across the street and some of the folks to the north of there. So I have some interest as well. So just add me to the list of people for further information. Thank you.
Certainly. Any other questions or comments on golf or otherwise? I believe that Senator Dietzig, you had your hand raised earlier. I don't want to make sure I didn't miss you.
No, I think one of my questions was answered. I think you should send out anything on the Hiawatha site to all of us, because I know I had a lot of constituents who also were concerned about that when all of that was happening. So it would just be good to know. And then at one point, we had I remember a $300,000 to $330,000 amount that was left over from, there was a grant. We got a grant or a loan or something from the state. We were able to keep that money for Brian Coyle. Was that used to either look at some redesign of the current building, or I know there was with the community we're looking at another site where a proposed mall was later then put up by the city. Do we know if any of that money is still sitting there, or what happened to it, or where we are with any of that?
President Cogill and Senator Dietzig, this is Michael Schroeder. I can respond to that. Those funds were used for the programming activities that have been going on for the last probably 16 or 18 months. Some of those funds still remain. We are probably a little more than 2/3 of the way through those funds in defining programming for a new building and exploring possible locations. You're correct that one of the alternatives was the location of the Somali Mall. We explored locations across the street from that at what's in Minneapolis referred to as Lot F. We've looked at a replacement of the Brian Coyle building, and we're looking at another location within Curry Park. So we have 4 locations that we're building out around the programming to make certain we're exploring it fully.
Should we go back and try? It's been a few years. I had multiple meetings with Augsburg President Pribenow and the former commissioner and former PUC head on working out that lease agreement, which has it has some language in there that is prohibitive to getting bonding. So should we make I would suggest we make another attempt to resolve that issue.
President Cogill and Senator Dietzig, that would be appropriate for us as we attempt to move forward on this. Thank you.
Yep, I'll be in touch. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Seeing any other questions or comments from anybody? I want to give a chance for any other park board commissioners. If there are any words that want to be said, Commissioner Forney or Vice President Vita, anybody else? All right, well, the lack of food has hurt our energies here. I got to get on the horn. I'll got to be biking around with the donuts here.
The bacon.
Oh, okay. God, I got a lot to do here.
I'll send my order too.
Very good. Well, thank you all so much for jumping on. I know it's not the usual breakfast, but we do appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure we're all Zoom fatigued substantially, and it's just great to see the turnout here. And it seems very clear that we have great support. There are a lot of questions that we need to going forward, especially on the golf course, be communicating on, and we look forward to doing that work. And can't thank you all enough for making sure that our park system is the #1 park system in the country. It's because of your support. It's because of your questions. It's because of the commitment that we all have to our public assets and our public spaces that we have such a system. And I'm so grateful to be part of it. With that, I'll ask if there are any final words that anybody wanted to say. Not seeing anything. Otherwise, I'll say thank you very much. We'll be in touch very soon. And I will adjourn this committee of the whole.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.